Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Whiskey Neat, spirited conversations with interesting people. I'm your host, Kristopher Hart. I thoroughly enjoyed today's episode. I have been wanting to get Cheryl Gibbs on the show for a while now, and I also, peek behind the curtain, I've been dying to get her boyfriend on the show. I say boyfriend, I think husband, they're not married, but they've been together a long time. Terry over at Anvil in Houston has been the beverage director there, or the main guy that besides Bobby Hugel to run that place, and I'm fascinated with his level of knowledge on all things spirits, all things cocktail. Huge fan, but I'm as equal a fan of Cheryl. Cheryl used to work at RNDC and then switched over to the William Grant side, the supplier side, and is slinging some of the best Irish whiskey on the market. Donna Stewart was recently hired to be the national brand ambassador of Tullamore Dew, and Cheryl kind of manages the Houston market as well. They've been preaching the good word of Irish whiskey for a while now, and I couldn't be a bigger supporter of it. So today we sit down with these two women and we walk through the entire nice, beautiful core range of Tullamore Dew, from the 18-year-old single malt, which I'll tell you right now, this was freaking fantastic, to the cider cask, which I was pleasantly surprised by, the rum cask, and of course, this delicious green label that is always, always just fantastic Irish whiskey. The Houston Whiskey Social is, like I said, full swing every week. Tickets are available. We are 3 weeks out from the event, and it should be a blast. So you can get those tickets at HoustonWhiskeySocial.com. Any information about this show at MyWhiskeyNeat.com, and I think that pretty much covers all of our bases. So without further ado, cheers. So Donna Stewart, that's sounds like a very familiar name, almost like an actress's name. I feel like I'm missing something.
No, it's not. It's actually, it's kind of weird. I thought that my name was definitely going to be Scottish, right? Because I did like my ancestry, and Stewart is like the most popular Scottish last name.
We had on Stuart Buchanan. Oh, that's a first name. Never mind. Disregard. Sorry.
The colors of Scotland, like when you see that tartan and everything, that's like really like the like iconic colors of Scotland. That's the Stewart family colors. So I was like, oh God, I wonder am I Scottish? Like, which is totally fine if I was. I just didn't want to be English. So I did my ancestry, and it came back 100% Irish.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I don't know where the Stewart comes in. I mean, it's obviously somewhere like someone Scottish came into the family, but
well, it's weird because with the ancestry thing, you think, generally speaking, like Europe is so close, and the countries are so small compared to our states.
Oh yeah.
That people love to say I'm German or I'm French. Like my ancestry is 100% German. I'm like, you can't really say that because it's not like anyone saying I'm 100% Louisianian or Oklahomian. It doesn't have the same ring.
Maybe they call that Cajun.
When I went and had my ancestry DNA done, it was just basically big blobs around parts of Europe. The one exception to that is if you're an island. If you're an island, you are kind of
right
to yourself, right? Yeah. So I'm very, very Irish myself, but I have quite a bit of English in me too. So
how unfortunate.
And Cheryl Gibbs.
Lots of English.
I'm gonna greet you on my show just like a gentleman would. And so lots of English, you say?
Lots of English. Sorry.
Really?
Yes, but I'm driving you later, so be nice.
So be nice. But it'll be on the wrong side of the road.
Anyways.
It's funny. Back to that ancestry. Like my mother's side is MacDougall, and they've always said that they were Scottish, and I just kind of was like, okay, cool. So we're part Scottish. Cool. That's nice. Then that ancestry DNA stuff came out, and zero Scottish, Irish, but my dad is 100% British.
Really?
That's the problem is you get generational storytelling that happens. And when I met my wife, she's one of 7 kids, and the youngest was like, we're Native American. And then the oldest got her DNA back done and is like 0 Native American. And I held on to that for years because she got so mad. This was 12 years ago. But she got so mad that I didn't believe there was any Indian. And then 10 years later, I find out there's not. And I was like, hey, do you remember that time you got mad at me? In your face. We've always been, last name being Hart. It used to be O'Hare. which
okay.
Which I think is going to play into what we're going to talk about today.
Yes.
So I'm excited to hear about this new campaign that you guys are on.
Yeah. So basically, we're a triple blended Irish whiskey, right? Which means we're a blend of all 3 types of Irish whiskey that are made in Ireland. So most Irish blends that you might be familiar with are usually a blend of 2. So we're really proud that we're a blend of all 3. And then some of our messaging kind of ties into that. Our company motto is that the blending of cultures, thoughts, and ideas makes the world a way more fun and interesting place.
Sure.
So
especially with food.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So that actually ties into this too. So we wanted to do something different this St. Patrick's Day. Of course, we're going to be in all the Irish bars. We're going to be doing our usual Paddy's parties. But we wanted to kind of give a nod to our motto, which is everyone is Irish on St. Patrick's Day.
Of course.
Yeah. So our campaign is Oh Everyone. And what we're doing is in 4 cities around the States, we're taking over several different bars or restaurants that are non-Irish. So think Indian, Mexican, super American sports bars, pizza places, whatever you can think of. And we're going to make them Irish for the weekend. Not changing their menu or stuff, but we're going to have an Irish featured menu. So some Tullamore Dew drinks. And we're also going to have some Irish blends with their... So
sure.
Let me give you an example, kind of explain it a little bit better. So one of the Indian places is doing a corned beef curry and a potato curry.
Sure.
And then, one of the Mexican places is serving all their tacos in spinach tacos. So they're going to be green,
Nice.
And then the drinks, in the Mexican place, we're doing an Irish Paloma. So Tullamore Dew, lime, grapefruit, super easy, but a little bit different. And then Irish pina coladas, there's loads of fun stuff we're doing.
Oh, that sounds good.
A child fashioned at the Indian place. So it's going to be so fun. It's just going to be new ways to talk about Irish whiskey, as well as celebrating that blending cultures together is definitely more fun and also delicious.
When's St. Paddy's Day? The 18th?
Yeah,
17th.
It's
17th.
coming up next week.
I think this will air
in time.
Yeah.
Cool.
What 4 cities are you going to?
Yeah, so the cities that we're taking over the restaurants and stuff is New York, LA, Chicago, and Boston. However,
so not Houston.
No, I wish it was.
Well, thanks for coming on the show today. It was nice meeting you.
Hey, we've got a lot of really cool things going on at different bars in Houston.
But we do have our T-shirts that everybody can get so that they can be Irish. So it's basically O in front of your name. And that was the key part that I meant to tell you about the restaurants. So we're putting an O in front of all the names of the restaurants.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so O Gilbert's, O Bombay Palace. That's kind of going to be the vibe. And their signs are going to be changed for the weekend.
That's super fun.
Yeah, so then everyone can be Irish by putting an O in front of their name. So that would be perfect for you because you said...
goes right back to my roots.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, if I remember, from what I understand, in the early 1900s, it was very hard for Irish people to get any work. And so if you had an Irish-sounding name, they wouldn't hire you. In fact, I think I
Irish
just...
need apply.
That's correct. I think I just saw a Tullamore Dew ad on YouTube today, which I thought was a little... how you'll talk about bikes and then you'll see bike advertisements? I was talking about Tullamore Dew being on the show today, was watching an episode of Joe Rogan on YouTube, and then a Tullamore Dew ad popped up. No Irish need apply with the guy. Yeah.
That freaks me out. Why? I understand if I type it into Google, but how did they hear me talk about it? I was just talking about it,
Dude, there's been times where
I turned Alexa off.
I've never used it. I refuse to use Alexa. We bought a Sonos for the house, which is a similar, but there's no AI. And my wife was like, "Can it hear us?" I'm like, "No, it's just a speaker. It's just a wireless Wi-Fi connected speaker." Are
you sure?
Yeah, well,
I have Alexa and I have no fear.
Yeah, I talk to her all the time, but I unplugged her recently because she was freaking me out. She kept saying I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
And you weren't even talking to her?
Yeah.
Alexa sometimes argues with us. So my boyfriend has set up our house so that Alexa can turn the lights off and on.
Oh, God,
Alexa
that's cool.
can control the TV for us, but Alexa likes to argue with us. We'll say, "Alexa, living room on," and she'll be like, "You don't have anything for the living room."
Oh, weird.
We are one generation away from what was that Disney movie where they were all in just WALL-E? Yeah. WALL-E. Yes, you're allowed to talk.
For some weird reason, you just made me think of Batteries Not Included. Do you remember that movie?
Yes.
Classic. Classic future movie.
But just being to the point that we don't have to move. I mean, Amazon Prime, listen, if I told you how much money I spent on Amazon Prime.
My favorite.
It's so convenient.
Mm-hmm.
It really is.
And the only thing it's like some things just aren't worth the price. Like if you try to get food and stuff, it's like it's just a little too expensive. I'll go to HEB.
It's going to get affordable though, because I just think people aren't going to go to the stores. So they're going to have to make it be part of the
Dude, when they open
package.
the gates for alcohol, it's done. If I get same day alcohol delivery, it is over.
I'm with you.
Speaking of,
you were talking about no Irish need apply.
yeah. So what would happen is a lot of Irish people would de-Irish their name, and so they took the O apostrophe off O'Hare and made it Hart. So I'm Chris Hart now.
You got to make the family proud and put it back in there.
I would if I didn't already have kids with their last name,
well,
and I'm not paying to change all their names.
You can rock it on Paddy's Day.
And speaking of alcohol, I actually wanted to ask you this question. I prepared. I was in Ireland a couple years ago.
Okay.
And how long did you grew up there, right?
Yeah.
So I'll ask, and you're from Dublin.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not stalking your Facebook. I'm going to ask you one or the other.
Okay.
That you feel deserves the title that it has, and then you'll know what I'm talking about when I ask.
Okay, let's go.
So Brazen Head or Sean's Bar?
Brazen Head.
As the oldest bar in Ireland.
And Sean, the guy who works at Sean's Bar is going to kill me for saying that, because we do, like, it's real
he
close.
Won't see this.
Yeah, it's like...
He's really far away.
What's his name? I'll mail it to him Amazon one day.
Yeah, I think his name might be Patrick, actually. But so it's real close to Tullamore. You can get to Sean's Bar, and it's super cool. Like, has a massive big patio, has the sawdust on the ground. It's like leans to the side, but
yeah, the building's about to fall over.
Yeah, but I'm from Dublin, so like going into town, we call it town if you go into the city, and like the Brazen Head is the oldest pub in Dublin. It's like from like
1198.
Yeah,
AD. Yeah,
right. So it's all made up of different rooms. So like you walk in and like there's like it's almost like a house. Like there's like a room here, a room here, a room here, and there's different vibes in the different rooms. And they do a sick pint of Guinness. They're right beside the Guinness factory.
Their fish and chips are ridiculous.
Oh, and then the Irish coffee. Oh my God.
So when we went, we were like, okay, there's three things you can look at in Europe, right? It's churches, breweries or distilleries, and bars, right? So we looked up the oldest bars and castles too, I guess. I'm sorry, I forgot that.
There's a few more
churches,
things.
Castles. Well, I'm just like the things that we don't have here, right? So really, really old establishments that have been, hundreds of years old.
Beyond
Castles,
the beginning of America.
Churches, right? And we've got like old trailer parks. Like we don't have anything fantastic here. And so we looked up the oldest bars in Ireland and went to, I think, the top 5. And we went to Brazen Head, and it was amazing. 1200 AD. That's almost 2000. Or why am I doing that wrong? It's almost a little. I don't know. It's math. Really old. Yeah, math is hard. So it's almost 1,000 years old, and
So what was your favorite?
Sean's Bar. I liked. We went to Sean's Bar first.
I know why.
Sean's was a little bit more. It's much smaller, but it also feels like it's cheating because it's not been a bar the whole time. Whereas I think Brazen Head's been a bar the entire time.
Yeah, well, I think it started as like a brewery or something.
900 AD, by the way.
Yeah.
So it's a couple hundred. It's a couple. Well, I knew it from then. I was so amazed by it because it was the first time I walked into a bar, and it was on a Sunday, I think, because there were families there. Grandparents were there. After church, they went to have a pint. And in America, that's perceived as bad parenting.
Yeah.
But in Ireland, it's like we go to Luby's after church, right? And they went, and there was a family, and the kids, they ordered fish and chips, and the grandfather had a pie, and I was like, this is the coolest. I never want to leave this place ever. Like, Ireland's this amazing place.
And I think that, I think they're both awesome places, but I think that the reason that you probably liked Sean's Bar more is because, like, it is in the heart of the countryside. Like, that little town at Lone, like, is just, it's just that for me, if I'm bringing Americans over to Ireland, like, that's the experience I want them to have.
I don't necessarily like it more, but it was a bit more, it felt more special in the moment.
It's
the
authentic.
patio setup and the fireplace at Brazen Head's definitely more visited.
Oh, yeah. It's like tourists are going there.
Everything's worn out. I mean, everything looked amazing. I know this is nothing to do with why you're here today, but I had to ask Sean's Bar, and it's a debate, because both claim to be the oldest bar in Ireland, and and
are they friends? The owners?
I don't
Do they know each other?
I don't know, because I just separately know them both, but like I know that Sean's Bar, like has been around forever, has went through different hands, but like they all keep it old school. Like there's always the same guy at the bar. You know, they make all their Irish coffees with Thole, like as you're supposed to. Like they're just a cool, awesome bar. They've got like do you see all the firemen's patches that came over from America and stuff? Yeah, they just every wall is a different story in Sean's bar.
And they used to insulate walls with like hay and stuff, and those walls still have some like hay and sticks in there, like to insulate the building. Yeah. So, and she's right. The ground isn't level. Everything slopes a little bit. So now Brazen Head had an incredible patio experience, and the fireplace was just, I mean, it was a very cozy feel.
But it's geared
Sean's
towards...
bar felt old. It felt 900 AD.
Yeah.
It felt, you know.
Which was a better pint of Guinness? Did you have Guinness?
I don't remember. Of course, all we drank was Guinness.
Okay, good.
And we visited the Guinness. The Guinness brewery, I always tell people, is like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, but for beer. It's got like 7 floors, and each floor is a different adventure. And like one floor, there's nothing on it, but then you like walk down a dark hallway, and it opens up into a white room, and there's just nothing but smoke. They have these pillars that spray different aromas of the beer.
Of the different grains.
Yeah, so this is the malted barley. Yeah. And this is so you get like this toasted chocolate and like just all this like different.
So fun.
And then when you get to the top floor, they teach you how to pour, and we still have the glasses from the trip.
And then you go up the very top, and you got the view of Dublin, the 360-degree bar.
I didn't get that
you
far.
Didn't go up there?
No, we stopped
at
the
bar, did you?
No, we stopped at where they taught us how to pour. I thought that was it.
You need to go up one more floor.
Oh, that's stupid.
And
it looks like we need to go.
360 degrees. Yeah, it's like you can literally just walk around and see like the whole of Dublin.
The one thing we didn't visit was distilleries over there, and I'm a huge Irish fan. But historically, Irish has kind of waned a little bit in popularity, right? So it's like this resurgence. I've always given crap to Armagnac as being a bit of a boring category, or cognac for a long time. I know what you're thinking, and I know if Terry's watching this, he couldn't roll his eyes harder. But for a long time, everything was just straight 80 proof. You know, everyone's heard of Hennessy. There was just not a lot of innovation happening, and that's changed. There are tons of great Armagnacs out there. I've been preaching the good word of the grape whiskey thing for a long time.
Look, people are really proud of their traditions, and they do it really well. Calm down.
I'm not trashing them. I'm just saying, I'm remarking on what we all know to be true, in that there was a decline in popularity. And you guys specifically have been one of the innovators. You guys have been. There's been a new expression. You know, the Phoenix, which we had last year, was fantastic.
Well, you know, their Irish whiskey was once the most popular spirit in the world.
Sure.
That was about over maybe like 110 years ago. And there was a few reasons for the decline. So basically, one of them would have been, which is kind of a strange one, you would think it would be positive, but we got our independence from Britain. And what happened as a result of that was we lost a lot of our distribution channels. So it was a little bit harder to get it out. And then another reason was Prohibition in the US. You guys were like our biggest fans, so that did not help.
Sorry about that.
Well, it really wasn't us guys. It was you guys over here. You guys are on.
And then the third thing was like the man who created the coffee still was, which is like basically a real great piece of technology that helps to distill whiskey, make better whiskey faster, you know. His name was like Aeneas Coffee, and he was a taxman in Ireland. So when he came up with this invention to make whiskey, none of the whiskey makers would take it on because they hated him. He was a taxman. They're like, I'm not doing it.
Well, also, we're all steeped in tradition. Like you said, a lot of people, pride. I mean, just look at the Scotch Whisky Association. They're reluctant to do anything outside the norm until it becomes widely accepted, and then they're on board.
Right. Yeah. And so the thing was, basically, we didn't take on that piece of technology. So we lost out. The Scottish did. The Scotch became really popular. Irish started to decline. We had like doors closing of distilleries all the time. And what happened was a lot of different brands had to get together. Thank God that they did. And they became Irish distillers. And everything was distilled out of Middleton and Cork. And all the brands were therefore like kept alive. But of course, like their sales were really low. And, you know, it was tough. And then the past like 15 years, Irish whiskey has been growing. It's the fastest growing spirit in the category. So we're back, and we're back with a bang. And we're number 2 in the world, which I actually really like, because
behind Middleton?
Behind Jameson.
Oh, duh.
Yeah. So Yeah.
missed that one.
Have you ever
Right
heard
in
that
my
one?
face.
Yeah, but it's kind of cool because Jameson kind of helped to open the avenues to talk about Irish whiskey. So we're actually kind of happy about that. And then I like being number 2 because it gives us something to compete against.
It keeps you on your toes.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So we have come up with lots of different expressions because it's interesting. A lot of whiskeys are doing it and we thought we can do it. But the reason that we did it was more like we had to sit back and think and go, why are we going to make a different style of our whiskey? Like there has to be a story behind it. That's what everything is for us. It's all about stories. It's all about characters. So the one that you've got in front of you now is Tullamore Dew XO, or if you want to call it Caribbean rum cask finish, which is a bit of a mouthful. I call it XO because it's aged in extra old rum casks. So we didn't just do that for fun, hundreds of years ago or 100 years ago, many of the Irish were sent off to the Caribbean to work as slaves under like Cromwell. And then a bunch of Irish actually went by choice as well to work. So most of us worked on the sugar plantations. And of course, what happened? Families blended together. Irish people stayed on, worked their way into different industries. And like to this day, 25% of Jamaica can claim Irish ancestry. Wow. And like there's Irish last names there, there's a community in Montserrat. They call Montserrat the Emerald Isle. And they have Irish pubs.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, right. They've got Irish pubs. They've got tricolors over the door. Like some people are like fair skinned or green eyed, and like they talk with like this Caribbean Irish accent. Like it's so weird. It's on YouTube. You have to look it up, right? And they drink Irish whiskey. So we were like, cool, let's tell that story. Let's give a nod to that, our ancestry and the people who did that before us. So we brought over Demerara rum casks from Guyana in the Caribbean. And then we finished our original Irish whiskey in the barrels for 3 to 4 months.
Sure.
So what results is like an Irish whiskey with a rum nuance.
Yeah, really sweet.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the green, and we didn't get to really talk about it during the first segment because we trailed. But I always get a lot of pear, like a ton of like really juicy fresh fruit.
Yeah.
And it's been a while since I've had a shot of Thole, and it was really, really good. So it kind of like you forget how great some things are until you revisit them. And the rum cask only just makes it a little bit more desserty,
it's a bit hotter, you got raisins, like some caramel. It's definitely got a little bit more like tropicalness, and a lot of cocktail bartenders are using this in like rum cocktails. So sub out the rum for XO and see what happens, which is kind of a cool thing to do on St. Patrick's Day, right? So like make a rum influenced drink. But if we just go back to the green one, which was what you're calling it, the original, this is like our king. There is something that like you should know about this, right? As like a whiskey expert, it's all about the power of 3. So if you remember 3, you're going to remember everything you need to know about Thole. Basically, it's triple blended. So it's three types of whiskey made in Ireland: malt, grain, and pot still whiskey. They're the only types that are made. We're a triple blend of all 3. And then we're triple distilled for smoothness, and we're triple matured in 3 different types of barrels. So we use bourbon that we bring over from Kentucky. And then we have ex-Irish that Irish whiskey has been in prior to. And sherry butts over from Spain. So you're getting a lot of complexity, and that's why when you say pear, some people say apple, and then you got vanilla, you've got spice, you've got caramel. Like there's so many elements. Like they say you can get 17 aromas from any whiskey, right? So I find that original you can pull so many out of. And then as you finish it in different barrels, it just gets like kind of more interesting and more fun.
Sure. I thoroughly enjoy it.
I do like you were talking about the history of Irish whiskey earlier. I really like the story about why it's part malted and unmalted barley.
Oh, yeah. So pot still whiskey. Yeah. So pot still whiskey is like unique to Ireland. Comes back to the tax man again. Mm-hmm. We didn't like him. So that was part of the decline of Irish whiskey. We were getting heavily taxed, and it was because it was all under English rule. And they were taxing the guys on the malted barley that they were using for the whiskey. So they were like, well, why don't we just throw in some
unmalted barley?
Yeah, right?
Then you can avoid the tax.
Yeah, we'll avoid the tax, see what happens. But it actually was like a perfect mistake because it came out to be pot still whiskey, which is now like, you know, our celebrated type of whiskey that gives like a little bit more of a spice and a creamy mouthfeel, like oilier, sits in your mouth a little bit longer. Pot still for me would be like one of my favorite elements, like one of my favorite Irish whiskies. So we definitely have a heavy pot still element, and I think it comes through.
I think it's delicious.
Well,
so
I'm just drinking now.
What part of are you over all of the U.S.?
I'm the West, so I'm based out of LA, but I kind of just. I'm always visiting. Yeah.
You said it
Did
earlier.
you look at...
No. You said it earlier. You said it earlier.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
You said the scooter thing, and so I just guessed.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Definitely did not look up your address on Zillow.
Yeah, so Santa Monica, I don't know how I ended up in California, but it was great. Like,
sure.
I came over.
It's a popular area.
Yeah, but not really for Irish. A lot of English would have went over to Santa Monica. A lot of the Irish stay on the East Coast.
Well, I meant for whiskey. There's a I think it's $7,000. I think is out there. There's a couple of like really great like whiskey, and plus K&L is killing it right now with a little bit more care behind what they stock. Like they were bringing in Cantata picks, you know, that aren't that beautiful Armagnac freaking years ago. It just seems to be like a really nice. The West Coast, even in Seattle. I mean, Jesus Christ, Cannon. That place in Seattle is just fantastic.
I love that place.
There just seems to be like you guys were ahead of the curve when it comes to like this awakening of whiskey enthusiasm. Besides Kentucky, I mean, Kentucky gets all the credit, but New York, California, Seattle, Portland. Yeah,
so Tullamore's been around since 1829, but it really always has been an export whiskey. And it's, it's been coming to America since I don't know what date, but I assume around then, like it's been out here. So it's been around, but of course the ambassador program, we kind of want to make sure that we can spend our time in the right places. So I cover the West, but like my priorities would be California and Texas, which I'm super stoked about because I love Texas.
Yeah, it's a great place. It's a little hot, but it's a great place.
Yeah, actually, I haven't been here in the summer yet. Everyone tells me it's
give it a
crazy.
week.
Well, have you been to Tales of the Cocktail?
No.
Okay.
Carry
on.
I hear
you should go.
You'll
but
see.
I'm just trying to say, like that New Orleans style weather in July when Tales is going on is not too far from
just
what
like
Houston's
saturated.
is.
Sure.
As soon as you walk out of the house.
You didn't know
just
it's
very
possible,
moisturized naturally.
But 200% humidity is possible in New Orleans and Texas.
I don't know if I'm ready for it, but I am excited for Tales.
Everywhere has AC. It's fine.
Are you pulling out dice and you're gone like 5 countries in 5 weeks? Are you all over the states?
All over the states. Yeah. Like last Thursday, Friday I was in San Jose, went to San Diego. Monday I was in Austin. Tuesday in San Antonio. Today in Houston, and last night in Houston, and tomorrow I'm in Dallas.
Wow. For International Women's Day.
Yes, for International Women's Day. Oh, I have a little toast for Women's Day. You need some whiskey.
Should we pour the next one?
Sure. Well, let's save that. So wait, what are your plans with the Chartreuse and?
Nothing. I brought them to give to you.
Oh, that's awesome! Because do you remember the first time I ever had Chartreuse was with Danielle?
Oh no, I'm not doing the challenge.
What she told me was what's the challenge?
The Chartreuse challenge.
Yeah. So we were at Hearsay for a Balvenie dinner. Balvenie. And she was like, just leave it in your mouth. It's called the Chartreuse challenge. And it gets
I've never heard of this.
Well,
so you don't put a full shot. It's like, a half ounce, maybe 3/4 ounce. And you just hold it in your mouth as long as you can. But us Texans are quite competitive. And we like to win. It doesn't matter what it is.
Do you know the salt ice challenge?
No.
So salt makes ice colder, but it makes it melt. So there's a challenge that stupid high school kids do where they hold a cube of ice, a bunch of salt, and you hold it as long as you can. And it's really bad because it burns your skin.
How long have you held it?
I don't know. This is high school. The Chartreuse thing, when I teach people how to drink whiskey, I normally tell them to bring a little bit into their mouth, keep it in the very tip of their mouth until the numb kind of tails off. But with Chartreuse, for some reason, it gets harder to keep in your mouth. Whiskey tends to numb your mouth a little bit, but it becomes like almost impossible to keep it Chartreuse in your mouth. It's really intense.
At the end of this, your mouth and your gums and everything is like you can't taste anything else. They feel very raw. It is.
What? I don't know anything about this.
It's fun
I only
game.
had I only had these two. Like I had sweet vermouth and Chartreuse because I was making a Tipperary like earlier on, and then I have to now go to Dallas. So I was like, oh, maybe he'll want them. He can make a little Tipperary.
First of all, I've never had a Tipperary. I've never made anything with vermouth. I'm usually a neat guy.
Okay.
Hence the name.
Yeah.
The cheesy name.
Yeah.
But I'm a Chartreuse fan for sure.
Just because of that.
Well, I bought a bottle after I drank it with Danielle, and I brought it home to my wife. And my wife's always been enthralled by the history of spirits, right? So there's a ton of history behind Chartreuse. And so we have a bottle, and we have the same bottle that I bought like 2 years ago. and we take a couple pours a year out of it. We share when we introduce people to it, and we do this. We do the same thing. I gave it to my mother-in-law, and she was like, I don't think I like this. So the
funnest part about the challenge is to get other people to do it, and then you just step back and be the judge and not actually compete.
Sure. Well,
does it burn your mouth like for the rest of the day?
No. It depends. I guess it depends on how long you keep in your mouth. But I just ordered it to try it, and she walked up and she's like, "Oh, Chartreuse, are you gonna do the Chartreuse challenge?" And I was like, I just ordered it to try it, and she's like, "Well, just leave it in your mouth and see how long you can handle it."
How long?
I don't remember. It was miserable. It was miserable.
It was the longest 5 seconds of his life.
It was the longest.
I definitely have to do this.
Yeah.
There's a restaurant, a venue. There's a place here in Houston. It's been around for about 30 years called the Mucky Duck.
Fantastic, by the way.
Have you heard of the Mucky Duck?
Yes.
So the Mucky Duck has a drink that they've been making with this product. And I'm going to say something. All my cocktail nerd friends are going to get mad at me. But they take this, an Aperol, and some orange bitters, and they shake it. Yes, there's no juice in it, and they shake it. Shut up. It's delicious.
Shaking is only for juice?
Yeah,
I never knew
allegedly.
I guess that makes sense for my gimlet. Okay.
Yeah,
all
traditionally, if there's no juice, you would stir, and then you would shake if there's juice.
Learn something new every day.
There's no juice in this. It's literally this, some Aperol, orange bitters, shake it, they put it in a Nick and Nora in a glass, which is beautiful. And the cocktail is so good and so simple.
I love that. I'm like gonna go try that when we go there later.
This is absolutely delicious. It reminds me, I know people have heard me talk about Copper and Kings a lot. I'm a huge brandy fan. It's got this. It's hard to put into words.
Yeah.
It's genuinely fantastic. I thoroughly enjoy this.
Yeah, it's very, very easy to drink neat. I mean, it's great for someone who also isn't very well versed in whiskey, and maybe it's their, this would be the perfect first try of whiskey in my opinion, because it's so soft, it's so mellow, it's so friendly. I think that anybody who has never had whiskey before, that's the perfect one. But yeah, it is just our original finished in apple cask. So we're super proud of it. It's seasonal, so it only comes out when the apples are ripe. So we have a batch of it every year that comes over to America, and when it's gone till the next batch comes in. So you mightn't see it on every shelf, but I'm sure we've got it around Houston, right?
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And Boilermakers with a cider.
It's good.
Is really good. And I think St. Arnold's just released a cider. Is it St. Arnold's?
I don't know.
A local Houston place just released their first cider.
Oh, nice.
And
I don't know of anyone else producing cider in Houston.
Not in Houston, to the best of my knowledge. But Austin has several. But yeah, so this was paired with a cider.
Yeah, like a dry cider.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's kind of sweet, and then it with a dry cider would be really nice and refreshing. But yeah, it's great neat. It's great for cocktails. It's cool to have fun with. I like it.
So I have another follow-up question.
Go ahead.
And I think we missed an opportunity earlier to discuss something about that coffee still thing that you mentioned.
Okay.
So you mentioned Guinness, right? You got to have a Guinness. Lager side, if you had to choose a lager, what would it be? From Ireland.
From Ireland?
Well, I'm sorry. What would you say is the preferred lager in Ireland?
The preferred Coors Light.
Coors Light's the preferred?
I'm not joking.
Really?
No way.
Yeah.
So I was gonna say tenants. I like when we went.
Yeah.
When we went, we enjoyed.
I mean, like we have like
you
we
get in
have
Scotland.
some great lagers that are made in Ireland, but like everybody in Ireland is drinking Coors Light.
Isn't
I'm not joking.
I didn't know that. That's really.
Did you not see it in every bar you go in? They've got like the cold, the like chilled.
If we saw anything that was American, I'll tell you where we made a mistake. So when we first got to Ireland, it was the first stop before we went to Scotland. I made the mistake of finding what I thought was American candy. Mm-hmm. And I went and ordered. I found, they have Starburst. I love Starburst. Not chocolate. Chocolate's, I don't get chocolate as much as I get
in Ireland.
Candy, right? So I saw Starburst. I bought and they had them in like bars this long. I was like, oh man, this is like a sugar nose's dream. And I'm thinking American flavors.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
There are European flavors of Starburst, and they're garbage. I didn't know what black currant was until I popped what I thought was a grape Starburst in my mouth. And black currant? No, it's like it's a tea.
Yeah.
This is like actually something
currant's
really.
a berry.
Oh, currant's a berry.
Yeah.
I was like, black currant is tea flavored Starburst. This is the most European BS I've seen.
Black currant is one of like a main flavor for us.
It's
so
in
like
a lot of cocktails. There's a lot of liqueurs.
Yeah, we got like black Ribena. You heard of Ribena?
No. And see, and the thing is, there's nothing inherently wrong with it. But when you're expecting American flavors, I'm like,
this is real weird.
Sorely, right? I thought this little brown cake thing was a brownie. No.
This face. What is this face? What is it? Oh,
blood pudding.
Yeah. Oh my God.
We're having breakfast in Ireland, and I popped what I thought was a brownie. I was like, they have brownies for breakfast? And I bite into it, and it's a
black pudding.
Black pudding. It's a muffin made with pig's blood.
I know what it is.
And I was so mad. I was like, I was so mad. I was like, what's the nearest flight back to Houston?
Sorry, go on.
That reminds me, we had some executives in town from the UK back in September. And this guy, when I say guy, I mean gentleman who is of my father's age, was telling me this story about how when he went to school, there was some French kids at his school when he was like in grade school. And in UK, they eat, is it Vegemite?
Oh, yeah.
Vegemite.
And like on like toast with butter or something like that.
Sure.
But
that's a real Australian thing.
It's a real Australian thing,
That's the other one. Sorry.
Oh, Marmite.
Yeah, that one. So that's what he was eating.
What's the difference? They both taste like crap?
They both look like the same like a jar.
Yeah.
But like
our version of that's called Nutella, and it's heaven.
Right. Okay,
I
hold
love
on.
Nutella.
So the French kid liked the same thing, but with Nutella, and he would bring his own Nutella jars. And this other gentleman thought it would be fun to prank him one day. I'm a big fan of pranks.
Yeah. Have you seen my wife's videos?
I mean, you see what I've done to Terry on April Fool's Days before. Big fan. So, anyways. He didn't switch out the jars. They made it for him, so he would feel welcome. Like, welcome to our school.
Made the sandwich.
We made it for him, and he's like, "We know you really like Nutella, so we wanted you to come and feel welcome at our table. Here's some hospitality." Mm-mm. And then watched him take a big old bite, expecting Nutella, and it was whatever this other thing is, and he was like scarred for life.
Oh my gosh,
they're still like really good friends. They talk about it. It wasn't like mean spirited, but it was.
I'm not picky. I think when you have what you think is normal expectation, and then it kind of catches. It's like when you get into the shower expecting hot water and it's ice cold. It's just a shock, you know.
Well, see, I come from the opposite angle to that because when I was growing up, I used to come to America like in the summer times and stuff because I have some uncles who like moved here in the 80s and still here. So there's some flavors here that do not exist in Ireland. So like
what?
Jalapenos,
cherry.
Oh,
really?
Like I'm thinking, like we're talking candy, right?
Sure.
Cherry doesn't exist in Ireland. Grape doesn't exist.
Really?
Watermelon doesn't exist.
Listen, watermelon airheads, bro,
don't exist. So I would come to America and I would get what do you call those hard sweets?
Now and laters?
No.
Jolly Ranchers.
Jolly Ranchers, right? And like the blue one and like all those mad like colors that like, because those flavors, like I had never tasted them. Like I tasted
and
like
you loved them.
Real cherries, like, but I'm talking about like the candy flavor.
Right.
Yeah, I love them. But now that I live here, I'm like, I grew up, I'm like, shit, like I wish that there was like Irish chocolate and Irish sweets, you know, because those flavors are so like artificial. Mm-hmm. But as a kid, like my mouth would be blue. You know what I mean? Like
my teeth.
Blue raspberry flavored
I love now and laters because of the texture.
Yeah,
it's all the hard, you know. And I made the mistake recently. Like I have kids. I should know better. of eating a bunch of grape ones before a meeting I had. And so my mouth and teeth were purple, and I felt so stupid. Like, why didn't I work long hours. So I guess I might have just been like a lapse of judgment, but I walk into this meeting to discuss, I work in aviation for a day job, and I just have a purple mouth, like a 4-year-old, just, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I apologize. It lapses, memory lapse, but.
That cotton candy, the blue one that like just permanently
stays. Oh yeah, none of that is
Yeah.
in Ireland. We have like quite plain flavors like strawberry, lemon, lime, blackcurrant.
Yeah. I love the Irish culture. I'm not bashing on it, but it was such a scarring. Dude, not only was that scarring, but just trying to get out of the airport when you've never driven on the different side of the road.
Oh,
I had almost I'm great under pressure, but in that I had to pull over at 5:00 in the morning, just trying to get my bearings of like how do you get on a highway when you get on the other way, right?
Did you drive stick?
I love driving stick.
Okay, is that like a
stick.
Texas thing? Because most other Americans like don't drive stick, and everybody I would talk to in Texas.
I think it might be a generational thing too.
Correct. Well, I'm 31.
Yes,
I just
same.
look old as
Same.
hell. Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
My first car was a stick.
I think it's a good mentality that you should teach kids to. You should teach them how to drive on stick.
100%.
And in
they'll never forget.
No, they'll never forget, even to this day. And I think it teaches them better, especially with dealing with. Before cell phones, you had sticks, and you had to learn to multitask. And I think just teaching them to be more aware, to be more conscious, to have all these moving parts.
You can't have something in your hand when you're driving stick.
That's correct.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you gotta be focused. And I think as well, like, it's just like a skill, because I've traveled around the world, and my boyfriend's American, can't drive stick. Every place that we went to, I've had to drive. I drove from like Cape Town in South Africa up to Durban, like in a little.
Wow, you've been everywhere.
Oh, yeah, like in a little Datsun, driving stick, going over past these like big trucks and everything. And of course, he's like passenger driver is like, come on, put the foot down, go, like skip the truck and everything. And I'm like, you need to sit back and shut up because you can't even drive stick.
Yeah.
Like
National Women's Day. Right?
Yeah, I was about to say
International Women's Day.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a life skill. Very important.
My first car was a pickup truck. That was a clutch, but it also
single cab.
It was a king cab.
Oh wow!
So it was when it was Datsun, but it was when Datsun and Nissan were like merging or buying each other. I don't remember, but it said both names on it on the back.
Oh, weird!
And this was also when your passenger side mirror was optional, so it didn't have one. And mind you, this was it was my aunt's first car, and it was gifted to me later.
I'm so confused.
It was very old.
Optional mirror?
Your side mirror on your driver's side was required, but on the passenger side, it was optional. And also, the steering wheel
like seatbelts.
Yeah. This one didn't
remember
have
those days.
But the steering wheel was not powered steering. And
so it was a real tough, big steering wheel.
Little 16-year-old,
sure.
Cheryl trying to turn the wheel. The clutch was not easy. That having to basically turn around backwards to see something out of my right-hand side was not easy. But that steering wheel, man, I was like,
yeah,
it was a challenge.
But I bet that made you like an awesome driver.
You would think.
I can drive
my wife
anything,
thinks
though.
I'm a bad driver, but I think I'm a pretty aware driver.
Yeah.
I think I'm really. I think I've got a good grasp on it. When we go on road trips or something, I like to drive. I don't like other
Me
people
too.
to drive.
Yeah.
There's something about it.
It's also about being in the passenger seat and feeling sick.
It's a little bit more stressful
Yeah.
on the passenger side, and you also there's nothing for you to do.
Yeah.
Right. So there's when you're so used to being behind the wheel, and you're in the passenger side seat, it just doesn't jive. Something feels off.
It's not for me. I am the road trip driver. But sometimes, it'd be nice to take a break, and that's why it was frustrating to be the only person who could drive stick. And I usually am.
Have you thought about teaching him? How long have y'all been together?
5 years. So we literally got a rent-a-car in Africa, and I was like, and it was a nice one. We got rid of the Datsun, we got another one. And I was like, okay, we sat in the car. He's a great driver, of automatic. He can reverse into any spot. I'm always super impressed with all the stuff that he can do. But I'm we sat down and I go, okay, foot on the clutch, foot on the brake. I was like, okay, now you're going to go into first. And I was like, do-do. And then he goes, he does it again. He literally turns off the car, gets out of the car, he goes, I'm not doing it.
Too much anxiety.
I was like, what? Like, do you know how many times I cut out before I could drive? Do you know how many times I cut out on a hill?
Yeah.
And had to take off with the, like
as it rolls
panic
backwards.
moments. Yeah. When you're a learner as well and everyone's like beeping at you. Oof.
I don't know anything about driving on a hill, though, because we live in Texas.
In Ireland, there's this one hill in my town, right? It's like this, if you're a learner driver, you never go this way. But if you've made the mistake of going, you have to follow through, right?
Sure.
So you're at it and it's like, it's really, really like vertical. So you're sitting there and you're kind of like waiting, but you also are turning right. So you have to wait for the two sides, it's tricky, right? So you're sitting there, you're waiting for all the cars to go, and then you got to go into first, and then you got to like ram the accelerator, to try and get up there. That hill, it was like when I would find myself there, like I would start to sweat, because sometimes it's you just took the wrong way and you're like, why did I come this way? Yeah. But now, now I know how to drive, how to drive stick. I'll never forget. I can get into any car, truck, pickup truck if you're in Texas.
Yeah. I haven't learned double stick yet, but there's, big trucks, 18-wheelers, they use like 2 sticks.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know that.
Yeah. Well, I haven't learned anything above and beyond that, but
just
I'm a
the
huge
basics.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of that. And then of course paddle shifting is a little fun if you ever gotten to do that.
I've never done that.
Where you shift via paddle. Yeah.
I've seen it, but I've never done it.
Pour it out.
Yay.
So single malt. Walk me for those who don't know.
So obviously everything that I've said is that
Oh, that's right.
Tullamore is a triple blended, triple distilled, triple matured, but we do have 2 varieties in the range that are single malts. Okay, so they kind of don't fit into that box, and that's our 14-year and our 18-year. So our 18-year is pretty much the highest that would be on the shelf for Tully, and that's why I brought it for you. Obviously, it's made with 100%
Smells fantastic.
Irish barley.
It's got a great nose on it.
Mm-hmm. So obviously, 18 years means that the youngest liquor in the bottle, or the youngest liquid in the bottle, is 18. So this could be anything up to 25 years of liquid in here. And it grows up in bourbon barrels, but then we finish it in bourbon, port, sherry, and Madeira. So what you'll get is like a lot of dried fruits.
I was about to say there's a lot of dried fruits. I call them Christmas flavors. I love those.
It's such a Christmas whiskey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. And it's a single malt, so it still tastes like Tullamore, but it's a single malt, so it's different. It's not the triple blend.
That is fantastic. That is fantastic.
So I had a sommelier taste this once, and he told me that, when you make a fruit salad and that fruit starts to ferment just a little bit and it's like 10 times better than it wasn't, that's what that flavor
Like day-old pizza?
Yeah, like day-old pizza.
Is a little better than...
And the cold one, too. Or day-old spaghetti. I mean,
sure.
I'm going to take that to my tastings. This tastes like day-old pizza.
But can you say anything with an American accent?
Yeah, I totally can.
California accent.
I love America.
There's still a little Irish in there. But if you could say this smells like day-old pizza in an American accent, I think it'd be hilarious.
Can we get you to say y'all?
Oh, I have been saying y'all, and I've been putting y'all on my emails, and because we say in Ireland we say yous, right? That's what you say for multiple people.
Yeah,
right?
like plural of yous.
Yeah. So it's like,
Weird.
do yous like your whiskey?
Sure.
But you say y'all, and it's really hard to spell yous on an email because
how is it spelled?
It's spelled like yes,
but with 2 S's.
No.
Yeses?
Just
No,
Y-E-S?
it's literally like
Uses?
YES, right? If I want to say yes, it'd be YES. So I've been substituting it for y'all.
I like it.
Yeah, I do too. I'm and they're like, oh, you already sound like you're from Texas. And I'm like, well, I want to move to Texas. So.
Most people I know that are, most people I know that have the Texas accent are men.
Right.
We did a show yesterday with Pinhook, and Daryl Bowman sounds like Daryl Bowman. He sounds like he's got a ranch.
Right.
And when we got outside, he's got this freaking jacked up truck that could fit a couple of head of cattle.
Right.
And he wore plaid. But most people in Houston, I don't think have Texas accents. I've never really.
It comes out the more whiskey.
That's
with me or with
with me.
You don't. To me, I don't. Oh, you too.
I mean,
More drink, more.
I'm like
that happens
my
to
granddad.
me.
Aren't you an Aggie or something?
No.
No, where'd you go? They're the same thing.
Ooh, fighting words.
Burn.
I mean, my granddad had a horse ranch, and my dad lives 3.5 hours to the east. And then I went to Texas Tech, so there's that.
Sure.
Yeah, I the more I drink, the more my accent comes out too. Like when I first moved over here, a lot of people couldn't understand me. Not because I have like a super thick accent, but I think I talk fast. And so,
have you met Elise Blackman?
What? Say it again.
Nothing.
There's another female whiskey.
Regional manager named Elise Blackman. She sponsors. They're McAllen, and she's fantastic. And
she's one of our closest friends. She's amazing.
She's amazing, and
she talks 1,000 miles a minute.
She talks fast, and
which I've never noticed.
And we joked about it recently, and she's fantastic. But that's you talk about. You don't talk fast compared to some other people I know.
No, like because I waitressed and bartended and worked in corporate situations where like I was consistently repeating myself because everybody just said what, and I was like, say it again. So I try to like stretch my words, and like make people understand what I'm saying and like try to not lose my accent. But the more that I have to drink, and especially when I'm with Irish people, the thicker it gets.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden people like my American friends are like lost in the conversation.
There's a couple of like really famous Irish videos of you can't understand a lick of like real you wouldn't say
maybe the country.
Right, but you wouldn't say Southern Ireland. You would say, what's the term for when you guys refer to people who are like country, the real thick country accent? You know what I mean?
I say boggers.
Buggers?
Boggers.
Boggers.
Because they live near the bog.
Okay.
Yeah, culchies as well.
Culchie? And here we would call them like, we'd call them like a real Southern accent is what we'd say. Like Paula Dean.
I'd be
hey,
like,
y'all, it's me, Paula Dean.
Oh,
just like that real Southern. But if they get talking fast enough, you're like, I don't quite follow what you're saying,
Well, like, I mean, this is like a funny term. It's not like an insult, but like anybody who's from the country, I'll be like, yeah, he's a bleeding bogger, like.
Yeah,
you can hear him talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, And hillbilly comes from the Irish kind of, right? Because they all
really,
yeah, because it used to be like all the Irish moved over to America and they moved into like the hills and the sticks because they like went where they could like either farm or like I don't have my history correctly, but like apparently they would all call it would be like William or whatever, and then they called each other Bill, and then it was the hillbillies.
Oh.
So our version of the hill. Well, I'm actually not gonna talk about our version.
Is it vulgar?
No, it's not bogger. The boggers.
No. So you said vulgar.
I mean, like, is it inappropriate? Is it like?
Yeah.
Is it Irish cussing? Is it?
Yeah, kind of
a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just gonna.
This
keep
is a
polite.
family show.
Yeah, but the boggers and the culchies, they know who they are. They might deny it, and they'll call me a townie or whatever they want to call me, a dub, and they'll have some insults for me.
A dub? That's a term for
a person from Dublin. Yeah. Anybody who's from Dublin, like. Is everybody else in the country is insulting them, but everybody in Dublin is insulting everybody else in the country. That's just how we do
Dublin's
things.
The New York of, or the LA of Ireland.
Yeah. But of course, like my family's from Donegal and everything. Like I love all my counties of Ireland. I love Tullamore. I love like going to Galway, down to Cork, like everything. But like, it doesn't mean if you're from there, I'm not going to slag you.
Right, of course. I think I followed that. I think that means for those listening, just because you're from there doesn't mean I'm not going to make fun of you.
Yes, correct.
that translates over here. Like my nephew, who is now 19. If you're watching this, you can't drink this whiskey yet. He grew up like outside of Katy, 20 minutes outside of Katy, and he's always like, I hate going to the city.
The city.
Yeah, the city.
It's ridiculous.
And then he was complaining the other day that he doesn't like, he's now moved a little bit closer in, except for he lives in Magnolia, which is still
pretty outside the city.
Pretty outside the city. And he's like, it's so much traffic and I just don't like living in the city. I was like, I live downtown Houston.
Have you ever been on 610 by NRG? Or
I don't think he's ever.
Or this area of town is freaking a nightmare.
I don't think he's ever driven. He's
How
19.
Okay, so when he's 21, he's probably going to move to the city and he'll have a whole different perspective.
What's the drinking age in Ireland?
18.
Ooh.
Which means that we kind of start earlier and we start going out and getting into the clubs. Like if you guys are
are there clubs in Ireland?
Oh my God, it's all nightclubs.
Really?
Have you been to Coppers?
Like
Shut up.
Like that kind of, really?
Oh yeah, we're mad into rave music. I'm not joking.
My mind's blown right now.
Yeah, so like there's like a music like trajectory of Ireland. So like you start off like and you're like Miss like pop girls, Spice Girls. Well, this is my story, right? So I'm pop Pop, and then like I got.
Dude, I was Baby Spice all the way. So
Me
Didn't
too.
they just get back together?
I think so.
They did some sort of tour or something. I don't know, but that Jerry Halliwell is a traitor. But go ahead, I'm listening.
And then like when you get to like 11 to like 15, like you're all about the rave songs. Like we used to like I remember when you had ringtones?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, you remember ringbacks? Like you would call instead of a
call
ring
me.
Oh my gosh.
We called them call me's.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have any credit. Is that what you're talking about?
No. Where you would call and instead of hearing a ringing sound, like if I call you, it says ring, ring.
Yeah.
No, it would be music.
I didn't have that.
Yeah, so when I called you, instead of it
was like my tone.
It was your own music. So you have ringtones that like when someone calls you, everyone can hear my ringtone. Or when I call you inside the phone, I could hear
I'm
music.
just gonna tell you that never made it to Ireland, and it needs that.
It's amazing. Yeah.
If that
It's
came to
never too
Ireland,
late.
it would go viral. Like
so you went from
pop to like dance music, right? And there's like a type of dancing in Ireland,
Backstreet
right?
Boys or NSYNC.
NSYNC, and then we had other ones.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Team Justin Timberlake all the way.
First of all, Justin Timberlake is a national treasure, and what he is now is so much better than he's ever been. Like he's hilarious, he's amazing.
Yeah,
I'm a
triple
huge
threat.
Yeah, but
he was great.
But NSYNC was garbage compared to Backstreet. Backstreet's back, all right.
But I think that Backstreet Boys was like popular like 2 years before I was ready. Like if you say you're 31, right? I'm 28.
Oh wow.
What?
He's not 31.
I am 31.
Sure.
Do you really think I'm super older than that, or
he's
super
75?
Oh,
doesn't he look great for his age?
No, but
I look horrible for my age.
My sister liked Backstreet Boys.
Oh my God, ladies and gentlemen, I am older than this man.
You're older than me.
I'm older than you.
Yeah, but these are also. I look like a pedophile in these photos.
Well, I wasn't going to show your pictures.
Kids ago.
They're not great photos. But look, that's the most Texas thing you've seen, right? A concealed handgun license.
Yeah, and you have. Yeah, this is weird.
They're not great
weird.
photos.
I've never seen that before.
But I'm not carrying a gun, just for the record.
Are you sure?
Well, it's in my truck. That's another thing that's like weird. We had the brand ambassador from Lecheg and Tobermory and Bunnahabhain, Andrew Rayburn. He was here a few weeks ago, and he had never been to Texas before. And the guy, his local market manager, took him to a gun range. He said it was very jarring. He was very totally foreign to
I've
him.
been to the gun range. I've been in America for 8 years. Like, I've been shooting.
So you're a little bit used to it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm from California, so not really.
So
but
not
like,
really, yeah.
but we went.
I mean, there's like Wild Wild West out there still.
There's what?
So wait,
Like the Wild West.
Before we get too
Outside
far
the
off,
city.
I want to hear more about your music experience.
yeah.
We have like 3 minutes left, and I need to know what happened.
So pop, right? And then I went to like the rave music, right? And then I went on like a rock vibe. So like I was super into like Nirvana,
Creed, and
Queens of the Stone Age,
Queens of the Stone Age is great.
What's the
Breaking Benjamin? Are you a fan of Breaking? What about Brand New?
No, I don't know them.
No, oh man.
Yeah, I guess I only got like the hits, like the big players, you know.
Sure.
What's the two guys who do This
Hall
is the
& Oates.
greatest song. What's the greatest song in the world?
Oh, Tenacious D.
Yeah, Tenacious D. My mom took
I
that.
saw them live in Austin. They're amazing.
My mom
super out of shape. They're gonna die in like 6 months.
Oh, God.
But they're amazing. They looked really bad.
So I got the album and my mom took it off me when she heard it.
Oh, it was rough.
Yeah. And then we went into like our rap stage
Push-ups?
and then we went into our rap stage and then we come out and we're like just like I'm
That's
like
like EDM.
I'd say I have the most broadest like variety of music interests.
Sure.
Like and now
And I think you should. I think that's a good sign of a healthy American is like a range of like I love 80s music. I'm a big fan of like even older stuff, Hall & Oates. Everyone's got to love AC/DC or you're against God himself.
I don't like them.
But 90s music, right? I mean, like if you don't like at least a few of Matchbox 20 songs or Pearl Jam, Who are you? You're a monster.
And I have to say, like since I moved to America, I've fallen in love with country music.
Oof.
But in the funnest way,
like straight country,
like-
or like
I like
Garth Brooks.
I only
Or like the
like
hip-hop
the
stuff.
cheesy country.
Yeah.
Like
Strawberry wine still like makes me want to cry a little bit.
Oh,
Don't
no.
Take the Girl is like my Waffle House jam. If it's 3 a.m. and we're at Waffle House having chopped, topped, and covered hash browns, I'm playing Don't Take the Girl.
I like
Florida, Georgia. Oh, you like the
no,
hip-hop stuff.
I
Like the
like
kind that's like rap
I'm a buy
and-
me a boat. You know that one?
And my girlfriend dumped me, and my
yeah,
dog's
and
dead.
like my truck and all that, and then like
Have you heard of Wheeler Walker Jr.?
No, do I need to know him?
Okay, you seem like someone who says cuss words on a non-professional level.
Yes.
Like when your daily life.
Yeah, I've been told that I have a vulgar mouth.
Okay, you're gonna love Wheeler Walker Jr. He wrote a country album, but saying all the stuff that country's never been allowed to say. And one of his most favorite songs, the most popular song, is called. Bear with me for those listening.
Oh, okay.
And it's about
I might like that.
It's a breakup song.
Are you saying like Willy Wonka, like in a chocolate factory?
Wheeler Walker Jr.
Wheeler.
Yeah, so his songs are all horrible, very offensive songs.
Sounds lovely.
It's like the Eminem of country.
But more vulgar. Yeah.
More?
Yeah, so but in particular,
possible.
he gained notoriety for this song that I have listed here. It's 3 words.
Yeah.
And it's a breakup song, and he's saying all the things you want to say to your ex, right?
Right.
But in a country song, and he made album, like, I don't know if they made album of the year, but he was at the top of the charts for like 18 months. Because he wrote the song,
I'm looking him up.
saying all the things you want to say to your ex.
Yeah.
We'll find it on Spotify and listen to it.
Oh, yeah. We'll do it the next time.
Not all of his songs are worth listening to, but there's a couple
That particular
of just
one.
like there's a few that are just like gems.
And that's the thing, like for me, for the country music, like I just like the ones that are like fun to sing along to. Like I'm not like listening to country music like Country 105 or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? I'm just like putting on the funny ones when I'm drinking for a laugh. Like,
Well, that's what Tenacious D was, right? So there was something about it that just speaks to our generation, and we're still the same generation. I mean, how old are you?
I am not saying that with this microphone right there.
Okay, well, let's talk about it off air. But you're 28. Well,
Yeah.
I'm only 3 years older than you. That Tenacious D. Did you listen to Taking Back Sunday or
Taking
no?
Back Sunday?
No. Oh my gosh.
I only had one album. My mom took
Like
it off
Newfound
me.
Glory?
Newfound Glory, or what about the band with the hype? Listen,
Fallout Boy?
Coheed and Cambria, Fallout Boy.
No, see, Fall Out Boy, yeah.
That's what I was thinking of
There you
for
go.
the high pitched
Yeah,
Fall Out
yeah.
Boy. Coheed and Cambria has
Pete
some like
Wentz or whatever?
orchestra level. Did you like Queen?
Yes.
Yeah, so Queen from the 80s. Coheed and Cambria, his voice is super high, but he's got a couple of like really magnificent like orchestra level. Lots of stuff happening.
That sounds
Lots of-
cool.
It's fantastic. I'll show you off air. Either way,
Yeah.
we're running out of time. This was fantastic.
Cheers.
We got to have one more.
Yeah, I want to do a little toast to close it
Okay.
out. Because remember, we're drinking the 18-year-old, right? So we got to do a toast.
It's by the way, I'll say this. It's been a while since I've had
Tullamore Dew.
Tully.
Tully.
I forgot how fantastic this was. This was fantastic.
Yay,
Thank you
I'm
guys so much
glad
for
you
being on
liked
the show
it.
today.
Well,
Go
this
ahead.
one won an award last year, too, before you did this toast.
Best whiskey in the world.
From who?
ISW, right?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
big one.
That one. ISWC.
It's good, but it's good regardless of that
It's the
award.
best. All right. If Tully was the ocean and I was a duck, I'd swim my way down and I'd drink my way up. But Tully ain't the ocean and I'm not a duck. So raise up your glasses. Let's drink the fuck up.